Hello, I'm Vanessa Guerrero, and welcome to After LUTV News, where we will discuss interesting topics in the news and in pop culture with our panel of LUTV news reporters. Since March 2020, life has not been normal. The coronavirus pandemic changed the world in a multitude of ways, including college life. The fall 2021 semester was set for students, staff, and faculty to return to Lamar University. Panel, how have you transitioned from Zoom classes to attending in person? And how has the pandemic shaped or changed your college experience? And have you settled into this new normal?
I like having in-person classes better than Zoom classes because, me personally, in Zoom classes, I tend to not pay attention and I'm in my bed, so I tend to just want to go to sleep. In-person classes, I'm there, I'm taking notes, I'm more attentive, so it's better for me to be in person. And then I'm an auditory learner, so I learn better when something is said to me and I'm actually paying attention to it.
Right. I'm the same way where whenever we had our hybrid classes and our online classes last semester, it was really hard for me to want to stay motivated because I need that sort of classroom environment in order to feel more motivated or to be motivated to go to class. Because with Zoom classes, it's so easy just to go, oh, it's just Zoom, it's fine, I don't have to go. You know, does anyone else have to share that?
No, I understand. Because whenever you're in person, you have a tendency to pay attention better. And you're able to ask questions to a person instead of an email or a chat box or things like that. So you can establish a relationship not only with your classmates, but as well as your professor, and get a better understanding of how you cooperate with the work and how they interact with and what they're looking for.
Right.
Zoom and in-person classes definitely have different vibes, but for me, I prefer online because I'm still going to pay attention whether it's online classes or Zoom classes. So, and I'm a homebody, so online is just good for me because I will pay attention, I'll do the work, and I'll get to chill at home at the same time.
Right. With that being said, which preferences we prefer, do you think that we shifted back into on-campus a little too early, or do you think it was the perfect time to do so?
I think it was a good time to transition because people were ready to get out. People were ready to not be stuck home. I mean, even people like myself, who I like being home, but comes a point whenever you're home too much.
Right.
And you need to experience something outside of your house or your comfort zone and get out of your normal box and into what's going on around you.
I think we transitioned good. I for one, I'm tired of Zoom classes and glitches.
Oh, yeah.
And then if Wi-Fi doesn't work, then you can't make it to class and you have to blame it on a technical difficulty. And sometimes professors, some understand it, some don't. They hold it against you. And I just think we transitioned better.
I have mixed feelings about it because we're still in the middle of a pandemic and I feel like people just decided that it was over.
Right.
And we just kind of jumped back in because we wanted to. It's not necessarily, I don't think it's necessarily good, but I also understand the feeling of wanting to get out of the house. So.
I agree. Whenever this semester first started and we found out that it was going to be mostly in campus or you could opt for online classes, I was kind of worried because we were still at the height of the pandemic. That's when vaccines were kind of, just now starting to come and people were just now starting to get vaccinated. And I was a little worried as to, are there going to be certain precautions that people are taking in order to, stay safe? But it does seem as if people just kind of decided to move on and forget almost kind of that we still are experiencing this COVID-19 pandemic. So once we started, we've obviously are back on campus, we're doing normal activities. Were there any transitions or changes that you guys faced or challenges that you didn't really expect to happen? Like for me personally, I didn't really expect to be, normally before the pandemic, I was very outgoing, I talked to anybody, but now I'm more reserved and I'm more nervous, I guess, to talk to newer people because of that, masked off feeling that we've had for almost a year, 2 years now. Did anyone experience anything similar?
I feel coming from the pandemic, I was more sociable, but I was also more tolerable. I think after the pandemic, I am a lot less tolerable of people's nonsense because it's just during the pandemic, while we were at home, I was watching videos and seeing how people were just reacting and doing just not sensible things. And so now that I'm out and seeing how people really act, I'm not tolerable of people.
I get that. So with this shift, to campus, everyone's more focused on, education. And while that is a big part of college life, the social aspect of it is also really important. We went almost, 3 semesters where social activities were just completely shut off and we weren't able to, experience most things that normal college students, especially the incoming freshmen, weren't able to experience, like their first homecoming game or their trying to get in touch with people on campus to make those connections early on. What do you guys have to say about that? Like now that more social activities are being put into place, and I know some of us are involved in social, groups, how has that come into play
From
for
what
y'all?
I've seen around campus, they're still using safety precautions and they're still using good judgment based off of it. But also what I've experienced is people are ready to have that college experience,
Right.
but also using the safety precautions, the good judgment, and making sure that those around them are safe and themselves are safe.
For me, nothing has changed. I'm kind of an ambivert, so it's like if I feel like being an extrovert, I will, and if I don't, then I won't.
Right.
But yeah, I just meet people wherever I am, and that's how I make my friends.
See, okay, people say I'm very social, and people say that I know everybody on campus. I don't. It's just they know me. But I do go to some events. Like if I want to, I'll go to them, and if I don't, I don't. And I look out more for me.
Right.
So I make sure I'm good and I'm protected and I'm safe. Like I have hand sanitizer and all that. So, like events like having homecoming. Homecoming was fun for me, and it was nice to have it after not having it for a year. And then the year before that, it was a storm that happened, so it really wasn't that big of a turnout. This homecoming was a bigger turnout, and I feel like freshmen who came this semester and sophomores who were freshmen last semester really enjoyed it because they actually got to feel that college experience.
Right. And for those incoming freshmen that came in, I had a conversation with one of my professors about this. They didn't get to have, their normal senior year. A lot of things are taken away from them. So when they came into this new college atmosphere, they were a lot of them were more put off and reserved and didn't really care about school activities or anything because they didn't get to have, their own senior year going away stuff. And I think that there's kind of going to be this sort of shift where in my opinion, a lot of students are starting to care about school spirit or school activities. And I think that's kind of sad that that's something that this pandemic took away from us.
Right. And maybe, too, a good thing that may come out of the pandemic going forward is maybe a lot of some of the older traditions may fall off, and then some newer traditions may start because a lot of things, you talked about the senior year or things, and people want to regenerate and start something fresh. And so maybe fresh opportunities may come out of the new beginnings.
I think that's a good point to be made. Thank you so much, panel, for your contributions. And thank you for watching After LUTV News. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter for more LUTV News content. And we'll see you next semester.